He'll reset. Nowitzki again for the lead. Bang!
What's up, Mavs fans? Welcome into All Things Mavs. I'm your host, as always, Jimmy Crowther, breaking down all the latest news around your Dallas Mavericks. And today, we got some unfortunate news. We're about 5.5 hours, as I record this, away from when the Mavs and the Pelicans were set to tip off game number 10 for Dallas, the game in which Kristaps Porzingis was set to make his return. But the Mavs reportedly did not have the 8 players needed to play in this game, and the league has decided to postpone it to a later date. Now, Callie Kaplan of Dallas Morning News broke the news this morning, really kind of early afternoon, that the Mavs-Pelicans game would be postponed, because remember, with the league's COVID-19 protocols and really just their rules in general, you have to have at least 8 eligible players to play in a game. Well, with the latest news of Maxi Kleber potentially testing positive and the contact tracing that has to go along with that for the Dallas Mavericks, the Mavs wouldn't have had the 8 eligible players in this game. Now, here's what I think happened. I'm kind of speculating, but I'm also 99.9% sure this is what happened. So Callie Kaplan tweeted out that the Dallas Mavericks would have had the 8 players necessary to play, but the league's contact tracing wasn't able to get done in time for the Mavs game. So basically, somebody tested positive on Monday morning in the Dallas Mavericks organization. Then the league had to find out who had been in contact with that player for basically more than 15 minutes at a time, and they weren't able to knock that out, thus postponing the game. Now, with postponements, it's really not a huge deal. I mean, it is. It sucks. It's not a good deal. But the fact is, the league has really, they didn't schedule out the second half of the season for this reason. They didn't schedule out the second half of the season so that they could afford to postpone these games and then schedule them for a later date. Now, we've already seen, I believe, 2 games before this one postponed. The Mavs was the third, and then a fourth one was postponed today after the Dallas Mavericks game was postponed. Now, going into the Pelicans game, including Kristaps Porzingis, the Mavs would have had at least 13 healthy players. They would have had Luka Doncic, Tim Hardaway Jr., Trey Burke, Kristaps Porzingis, Wesley Iwundu, Josh Green, Tyrell Terry, Nate Hinton, Tyler Bay, Willie Cauley-Stein, Boban Marjanovic, Dwight Powell, and James Johnson. So this means that at least 6 players were knocked out of this game, either due to testing positive or due to the contact tracing rules that the league abides by. So it's a very, very confusing situation. It's a very unfortunate situation. And some of you guys are probably just as confused as I am with the whole contact tracing. What does it even mean to be in contact with someone? Isn't everyone that plays in a game in contact? Well, not according to health officials that have been advising the league. The NBA defines contact as being within 6 feet of someone for 15 or more consecutive minutes. According to science, basically, you're never within 6 feet of someone for 15 minutes or more consecutively throughout a game. So to dumb it down for you, because I still don't really fully understand it. Let's say I'm with somebody that tested positive for 5 minutes here, and then I don't see them for 20 minutes, and then I see them for 5 minutes here, and then I don't see them for 20 minutes, and then I see them for 5 minutes here. Yes, that's 15 minutes, but it's not 15 consecutive minutes. It's not a long enough time for, I guess, the virus to transfer or whatever it does. So the league is basically just cracking down, and it's a very confusing situation, but it's the reality we're living in at this point. Now, remember, back in the Denver game, or after the Denver game, 3 Mavericks have already been knocked out, either for testing positive or for contact tracing. Josh Richardson, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Jalen Brunson. It is still unclear which of those 3 tested positive, but at least one of them is positive, and the other 2 are being knocked out right now because of contact tracing. Those 3 guys, unfortunately, are all still stuck in Denver. They don't know when they're going to be home, but if the Mavs are going to play out the games the rest of this week, which is still possible, they are eligible to return, or at least 2 of them would be eligible to return by January 15th when the Mavs play the Milwaukee Bucks, because that would be 7 days after the person who has basically been in contact with the person who tested positive could be back. So you take a look at the schedule for the Mavs over the next 7 days, because starting now, whoever is in contact is going to have to enter a 7-day quarantine. So Wednesday, January 13th, the Mavs play at the Charlotte Hornets. And then Friday, January 15th, the Mavs play at the Milwaukee Bucks. As I mentioned, that Bucks game is the one in which one of those or some of those three guys, Josh Richardson, Dorian Finney-Smith, or Jalen Brunson, could be eligible to return. Now, whichever one doesn't return to that game, we'll know is the person that tested positive back in Denver. And then after that, Sunday, January 17th, the Mavs play against the Chicago Bulls. The January 18th, they play at Toronto, which is really at Tampa, as I've mentioned before. And that would be the first day that anyone that goes into contact tracing protocols would return if they went into protocol today, if that makes sense. I know there's a lot of mumbo jumbo going on right now, but I hope you guys are tracking with me. Wednesday, January 20th, they play at Indiana. The 22nd at San Antonio. Now, the 22nd is the first game that whoever tested positive today, that would be their 10-day quarantine, basically. That would be 11 days after they test positive today, because that's January 22nd. So whoever tested positive this morning, or maybe it was yesterday if it's Maxi Kleber, he could potentially return to that one if he posts negative tests. January 23rd is versus Houston. January 25th is Denver, and that will be 2 weeks from today, which is basically the maximum period we should see somebody quarantined if quarantine starts today for whoever ended up testing positive. It's a very confusing situation. I hope I didn't confuse you guys even more. I'm trying to bring as much clarity to this situation as possible because I'm still even unclear about it. In fact, as I'm recording this video, there's still new information coming out. The league is set to meet up and really discuss new protocols, including locker room management, bench management, mask wearing mandates on the court, post-game meetups and handshakes with the opposing players. Those will probably be completely cut out. Brad Townsend of the Dallas Morning News is speculating that the league could enter basically what the world entered in and do almost a stay-at-home policy unless it is a crucial, basically grocery run, gas run, or whatever it may be outside of practice and games. Things are going to be changing here, and honestly, I think something that needs to change, or that needs to be discussed at least, is this idea of contact tracing. Like, if somebody comes in contact with a guy, but then they post 3 negative tests, like 3 days apart, why shouldn't they just come back? I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I don't understand how all this is working. All I know is I'm frustrated, and I want the NBA to play out, but I know there are bigger things at stake here, so I'm trying to keep a longer-term vision. And you know what? It's not all bad news for the Dallas Mavericks. It really isn't. Because Kristaps Porzingis going into this game against the Pelicans was already questionable. So if the Mavs are still able to play on Wednesday night, let's say they have the 8 eligible players to play on Wednesday night, that's a couple extra days of rest for Porzingis, who's going to be probably 110% ready to go at that point. And so if you can get a little bit of rest, we'll take it as long as it's not going to delay us, 3 to 4 weeks of playing any more games. I don't know if Dallas is going to play Wednesday. I don't know if they're going to play Friday. I don't know when the next time any games will be played if the league decides to put more postponements going on. All I know is that as of right now, the Mavs and the Pelicans will not play tonight. That game will get played eventually, just not right now. Now, something else that I do want to talk about here, and I'll probably do a whole video on it if we get some league updates. The Mavs, or the league, could add some extra roster spots. I think they should, because if this contact tracing stuff is still going to go on, and if players are going to get knocked out basically every other week because of this, why not add 3 extra roster spots and just bump it up to 20? And if that's the case, you could see Dallas bring back a veteran like JJ Barea. Or maybe they go out and they sign, one of their two-way guys that they let go from last year, like Josh Reeves, potentially. Maybe they take a swing on an undrafted guy or somebody that just entered the G League draft. There should be extra roster spots to make up for players that are going to have to sit out due to all this contact tracing and COVID-19 health protocols. It's a frustrating time. Bottom line is the Mavs and the Pelicans game will not be played tonight. Health protocols will be discussed amongst the league. We'll see what happens from here. Guys, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I still have a little bit of hope that the Mavs will be able to play on Wednesday night against the Charlotte Hornets. I have hope that they'll be able to play on Friday against the Bucks. And hopefully within the next 24 hours, we find out either A, who tested positive, or B, what the list is of guys that have been in contact with that person. I'm assuming it's Maxi Kleber, just based on the reports that came out yesterday, but we don't know anything for sure. I hope this video helped you guys kind of understand a little bit better. I'm still a little bit confused about what's going on, but all we know is, number one, Mavs and Pelicans aren't playing, but also number two, Kristaps Porzingis is healthy, and he was set to make his season debut tonight. If you made it this far in the video, you're probably already a loyal subscriber, but if you're not, That subscribe button is down below this video. It's a big red button that says subscribe. Once you click it, it turns gray, and I'll shut up and stop asking you about it. Also, make sure you turn on your notifications. This morning, I hit 1,500 subscribers, and I've only been doing real videos on this channel since New Year's Day. It blows my mind how much support I have from you guys and how many people are watching from all over the world. I asked you guys where you were watching from in last night's game preview, and I had people coming from countries that I hadn't even heard of up until this point. So appreciate all you guys for watching here on All Things Mavs. I'll keep these COVID-19 updates coming for you guys as soon as I get them. Again, I'm still trying to figure out the whole process, but I hope I was able to bring some clarity to the situation. Love all you guys, and as always, go Mavs, baby.